Most men never realize when a woman truly loves them. Not because the signs aren't there, but because they're looking for the wrong signals. They wait for obsession, drama, constant affection, or jealousy, thinking that intensity equals love. It doesn't. And that misunderstanding costs men relationships they never even realized they had. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one tells you. When a younger woman genuinely loves you, she rarely announces it. She doesn't chase loudly. She doesn't perform for attention. She doesn't overwhelm you with emotion. Instead, she does things so subtle that only a grounded, emotionally aware man will notice them. And if you miss these signs, she won't warn you. She'll simply stop. Most of what you've been taught about female attraction is incomplete. You were told to look for excitement, for validation, for desire that feels intoxicating. But real love doesn't feel intoxicating at first. It feels stabilizing. It feels unfamiliar. Sometimes it even feels quiet, and that's why so many men mistake it for disinterest. In this video, I'm going to explain the behaviors younger women display only when they are emotionally invested at a deep level. Not surface attraction, not curiosity, love. The kind that changes how she thinks, how she regulates her emotions, how she handles conflict, and how she protects the bond between you. Some of what you're about to hear may challenge your ego. Some of it may make you rethink past relationships. And some of it may explain why certain women walked away without drama or closure. But if you understand these signs, you'll stop chasing the wrong reactions and start recognizing real attachment when it's right in front of you. Stay until the end. Because once you see these patterns, you'll never misinterpret a woman's love again, and that awareness will change how you show up in every relationship that follows. When a younger woman truly loves you, the first thing that changes is not what she says, not what she posts, not how she dresses or how often she calls. The first thing that changes is her nervous system. And this is where most men get confused, because they've been taught to look for excitement as proof of desire. But excitement is not love. Excitement is stimulation. Love is regulation. Pay attention to this carefully because it's subtle and most people miss it. A younger woman who is not emotionally attached is often heightened around a man. She's alert, she's performative, she's aware of how she looks, how she sounds, how she's being perceived. Her energy is up, her emotions are sharp, her reactions are quick. This is not because she's shallow, it's because she's operating from a place of uncertainty. Her nervous system is asking, am I safe here? Am I valued? Am I enough? But when she genuinely loves you, something shifts. She no longer needs to be on. Her body no longer feels like it has to audition. She doesn't feel like she needs to compete for your attention or prove her worth. Instead of being stimulated, she becomes settled. Instead of being loud, she becomes present. Instead of being reactive, she becomes receptive. This is emotional calm, and it is one of the most honest signals of real attachment. A younger woman in love often speaks more slowly around you. She pauses, she listens, she doesn't rush to fill silence, and that silence is important because silence only feels safe when someone doesn't feel threatened by abandonment. When a woman can sit quietly with you without anxiety, without checking her phone, without needing constant reassurance, that tells you her nervous system trusts you. And trust, psychologically speaking, is not a decision, it's a bodily response. Here's where many men misunderstand this signal. They mistake her calmness for boredom. They assume that because she's not dramatic, not overly emotional, not constantly expressive, she must be losing interest. So they provoke, they pull away, they create distance, they test her. And in doing so, they disrupt the very safety that created the calm in the first place. A woman who loves you doesn't want emotional fireworks. She wants emotional steadiness. Think about this from a deeper perspective. Younger women grow up in environments that are emotionally loud. Social media, peer comparison, constant evaluation, attention economies that reward visibility rather than depth. Her nervous system is almost always overstimulated. So when she meets a man whose presence slows her down, whose energy grounds her, whose emotional tone is consistent, her body recognizes something rare. It recognizes rest. And rest is not sexy in the way movies portray it, but it is profoundly intimate because rest means her body no longer feels like it has to defend itself. This is why a younger woman who loves you often becomes less reactive to external chaos when she's with you. Things that used to bother her don't escalate as quickly. Her emotions still exist, but they're not spilling everywhere. She doesn't need to exaggerate them to be heard. She trusts that you're emotionally available enough to notice without being forced. This is not submission, this is security. Security does not make a woman smaller, it makes her more honest. Another detail men overlook is how she handles conflict when she feels emotionally calm around you. She doesn't explode immediately. She doesn't threaten the relationship at the first sign of discomfort. She doesn't use emotional volatility as leverage. Instead, she approaches issues with curiosity. She wants resolution, not dominance. Why? Because when a woman loves you, she's invested in stability, not control. Her calmness is also selective. This is important. She may still be expressive, passionate, emotional in other areas of her life, but around you there is a softness, a decompression, a sense that she can exhale. That tells you something very specific. She doesn't experience you as unpredictable. Unpredictability is what keeps people hypervigilant. Consistency is what allows them to relax. From a psychological standpoint, this calm is her attachment system saying, this person is safe to bond with, not exciting, safe. And safety is the foundation of every long-term emotional bond, whether people want to admit it or not. Here's the uncomfortable truth many men need to hear. If a younger woman is constantly anxious around you, constantly testing you, seeking reassurance, constantly creating emotional spikes, that is not passion, that is insecurity. And insecurity feels intense, but it burns out quickly. Love settles in quietly. This is also why she doesn't feel the need to impress you when she truly loves you. She shows up as she is, sometimes tired, sometimes uncertain, sometimes not at her best. She's not curating herself for approval. She's being real because real is what safety allows. And this is where emotional maturity on your part matters. If you only feel valuable when a woman is impressed by you, you will unconsciously disrupt her calm to feel needed. You'll confuse chaos with connection. But if you understand that her calmness is a sign of trust, you'll protect it instead of sabotaging it. A younger woman in love doesn't need you to constantly stimulate her. She needs you to stay grounded. She needs you to be emotionally predictable without being emotionally flat, present without being controlling, strong without being reactive. When she feels calm with you, it means she stopped scanning for exits. It means her body believes you're not a threat to her emotional well-being. And that belief is not given lightly, especially by someone who is still forming her understanding of relationships. So if you're wondering whether a younger woman truly loves you, don't ask how excited she is. Don't ask how jealous she gets. Don't ask how dramatic the connection feels. Ask yourself this instead: does she feel more at peace when she's with me than when she's away from me? Because peace is not the absence of feeling, it's the presence of safety. And the man who understands this doesn't chase reactions. He comes the place reactions can rest. That is the kind of love that lasts. And here is the reflection to leave you with. If her calmness around you feels unfamiliar, don't assume it means something is missing. It may mean something rare has arrived. When a younger woman truly loves you, she doesn't just show you her best angles, her confident opinions, or her curated strength. She shows you her uncertainty, and that's where real attachment begins. Not when she feels powerful, but when she feels unsure and still chooses to stay present with you. Most men misunderstand vulnerability. They think it looks like constant emotion, tears, dependence, or dramatic confession. That's not vulnerability, that's expression. Vulnerability is much quieter. It's the moment she admits she doesn't have everything figured out. It's when she says, I don't know, without dressing it up. It's when she allows you to see the parts of her life that don't yet make sense. A younger woman lives in a world that pressures her to appear confident before she feels confident. She is constantly rewarded for certainty, for having answers, for projecting independence, even when she's internally questioning everything. So when she chooses to let you see her doubt, understand the weight of that choice. She is stepping out of performance and into truth. And truth is risky. She doesn't reveal her uncertainty to just anyone. She reveals it to someone she believes won't weaponize it, won't judge it, won't try to dominate her through it. She's watching carefully how you respond, not with your words, but with your emotional posture. Do you rush to fix her? Do you minimize what she's feeling? Do you turn her uncertainty into advice, solutions, or authority? Because the moment you do that, she learns something important. She learns that her vulnerability is not welcome unless it can be resolved quickly, and that closes her. A woman who loves you doesn't want you to rescue her from uncertainty. She wants to know if you can sit with it without becoming uncomfortable. She wants to know if you're secure enough to let her be unfinished. This is where emotional leadership shows itself, not in control, but in containment. When she says she's confused about her direction, her feelings, or even the relationship itself, she's not asking you to prove your worth. She's asking whether you can remain steady while she's momentarily unsteady. That steadiness communicates safety far more than reassurance ever could. And here's the key insight most men miss. Vulnerability is not a test of your intelligence. It's a test of your nervous system. If her uncertainty makes you anxious, defensive, or desperate to reassert control, she will sense it immediately. And once she senses that her emotional openness destabilizes you, she will stop offering it. But if her uncertainty doesn't threaten your sense of self, something powerful happens. She relaxes further because she realizes she doesn't have to be emotionally strong for both of you. This is especially important with younger women because they are still forming their emotional identity. When she shares doubt with you, she's not collapsing. She's integrating. She's allowing you into the process of who she's becoming. That's intimacy. Another thing to understand is that vulnerability is selective. A woman may be emotionally expressive wit, friends, dramatic in social settings, confident online. That doesn't mean she's emotionally open. Emotional openness is revealed in private, unguarded moments where she allows herself to not know and not perform. If she tells you she's afraid of making the wrong choices, that's not weakness, that's honesty. If she admits she sometimes feels behind in life, that's not insecurity, that's awareness. If she questions her own reactions and asks for your perspective, that's not dependence, that's trust. She's inviting you into her internal world. But here's the responsibility that comes with that invitation. If you respond with superiority, with lectures, with dismissiveness, or with emotional distance, she will learn to keep that world locked. And once vulnerability closes, love struggles to deepen. A younger woman in love doesn't want a man who has all the answers. She wants a man who isn't threatened by questions. She wants to know that her uncertainty won't destabilize the relationship, that she can be human without risking abandonment, that she can feel lost for a moment without losing you. This is why she may test vulnerability before she commits fully. She may share something small first, a doubt, a fear, a quiet insecurity. She's observing whether you handle it with patience or power. Power repels vulnerability. Presence invites it. And let's be honest here, many men say they want a woman to be open, but they only want openness that doesn't inconvenience them emotionally. They want vulnerability that ends quickly, that affirms them, that doesn't require emotional patience. But love requires patience. When she trusts you enough to reveal uncertainty, she's also giving you a chance to show restraint, to not dominate the moment, to not turn it into a lesson, to not center yourself. Silence, when done right, is one of the most powerful responses to vulnerability. Not ignoring, not withdrawing, but listening without urgency, because urgency signals fear. And fear is not a place where love grows. A woman who feels emotionally safe doesn't need to exaggerate her pain to be taken seriously. She doesn't need to dramatize her confusion. She trusts that you will stay present even when she's quiet. And over time, something profound happens. Her uncertainty doesn't increase. It resolves naturally because safety allows clarity. When she feels emotionally held, she begins to trust herself more. So if you're wondering whether a younger woman truly loves you, ask yourself this. Does she allow herself to not be perfect around me? Does she share thoughts she hasn't fully formed? Does she let me see her hesitation without immediately correcting it? If the answer is yes, understand what that means. She is not leaning on you, she is leaning with you. And here's the final reflection to leave you with. Love isn't proven by how strong someone appears in your presence. It's revealed by how safely they can be unsure. If she trusts you with her uncertainty, protect it, because that trust is the doorway to everything deeper that follows. When a younger woman truly loves you, she doesn't challenge you to overpower you, embarrass you, or pull you into endless power struggles. She challenges you because she wants to understand you, and this distinction matters more than most men realize, because misunderstanding it destroys otherwise strong connections. Many men are taught that being questioned equals being disrespected, that if a woman pushes back, disagrees, or probes deeper, she is testing dominance or trying to take control. But psychologically, a woman who does not care will rarely challenge you at all. She will adapt, disengage, or quietly detach. Challenge requires effort, and effort is only invested where there is emotional value. A younger woman who loves you is not trying to win against you. She is trying to locate you. She wants to know how you think, why you think that way, and whether your values are stable under pressure. When she asks questions or disagrees, she is mapping your inner world. She is assessing your emotional maturity, not your authority. This is where many men fail without realizing it. They respond to curiosity with defensiveness. They respond to disagreement with rigidity. They respond to inquiry with ego. And in that moment, the dynamic shifts. The conversation stops being about connection and becomes about protection. But a woman in love is not attacking you when she challenges you thoughtfully. She is engaging you. Think about this carefully. A woman who wants control doesn't ask questions. She issues ultimatums. A woman who wants dominance doesn't seek understanding. She seeks compliance. But a woman who wants intimacy wants dialogue. She wants to know if you can hold your ground without closing your mind. That ability is deeply attractive. A younger woman is often surrounded by men who either collapse under disagreement or escalate into conflict. What she's watching for is something rarer, emotional steadiness. Can you tolerate being questioned without becoming threatened? Ned, can you stay grounded while holding your perspective? Can you listen without surrendering yourself? When she challenges you and you remain calm, present, and articulate, something powerful happens. She feels met, not managed, and being met emotionally is what builds respect. This is also why her challenges may feel philosophical rather than practical. She may question your beliefs about relationships, ambition, loyalty, or boundaries. She's not debating for entertainment. She's aligning. She wants to know whether the man she's attached to is internally coherent. Inconsistency is destabilizing, and love requires stability. Here's an important truth. A woman does not emotionally submit to a man she does not respect, and respect is not demanded, it is observed. When she sees that your sense of self does not depend on her agreement, she relaxes because now she knows she is with a man, not an ego. If you shut her down every time she questions you, she learns that your confidence is fragile. If you overpower her with logic, she learns that connection will always be sacrificed for control. If you withdraw emotionally, she learns that honesty leads to distance. And slowly she stops challenging you, not because she understands you, but because she stops trying. That is not peace. That is disengagement. A younger woman who loves you wants to know that disagreement does not threaten the bond, that she can be different without being dangerous, that she can push gently against your ideas without being pushed away. And here's the subtle part. When she challenges you respectfully, she is also inviting you to challenge her, not to dominate her, but to refine her thinking. This mutual sharpening is intimacy at its highest level, two individuals remaining whole while growing closer. But that only happens when both people are emotionally regulated. If you confuse leadership with control, you will miss this entirely. Leadership is not about silencing opposition. It's about creating an environment where truth can exist without fear. When she feels that environment with you, she becomes more honest, not less. She doesn't want a man who always agrees with her. She wants a man who can disagree without withdrawing love. This is especially significant with younger women because they are still forming their worldview. When she challenges you, she is asking, is this a place where my mind can grow, or must it shrink to stay connected? If the answer is shrink, love will suffocate. And let's address something uncomfortable. Some men enjoy being challenged only when they can win. They enjoy intellectual dominance. But dominance is not intimacy. Winning an argument may inflate your ego, but it erodes emotional closeness. A woman in love is not keeping score. She is building a bridge. When she pushes back thoughtfully and you respond with curiosity rather than combat, something changes in her perception of you. You are no longer just someone she desires. You become someone she respects deeply. And respect is the soil where long-term attachment grows. Over time, you may notice her challenges soften. Not because she's given up her opinions, but because she trusts you enough not to fight for space. Her voice feels secure. She knows she will be heard. That is the paradox. When a woman feels safe challenging you, she no longer needs to challenge you. Much. So if a younger woman questions you, don't rush to shut it down. Ask yourself instead, is she trying to control me, or is she trying to know me? The answer will change how you respond. Stay grounded, stay present, speak clearly, not forcefully, listen fully, not defensively. Let your strength be calm enough to hold disagreement without breaking connection, because the man who can be challenged without becoming threatened becomes the man a woman can trust with her mind, not just her heart. And here is the reflection to leave you with. If her questions feel uncomfortable, don't assume they are a threat. They may be an invitation. The question is not whether you can win the exchange, but whether you can remain whole within it. When a younger woman truly loves you, her attachment reveals itself not in intensity, but in consistency. And this is where many men misunderstand love, because they've been conditioned to believe that if something doesn't feel electric all the time, it must be fading. But psychology tells us the opposite. What fades quickly is stimulation. What lasts is steadiness. A woman who is not emotionally invested shows up when things are exciting, when there is novelty, tension, unpredictability, or emotional highs. She is present when the dynamic feeds her dopamine, but when the excitement drops, when life becomes ordinary, when there is nothing to perform for, she slowly disappears. Not out of cruelty, but out of lack of attachment. A younger woman who loves you behaves very differently. She shows up when nothing special is happening, when the conversation is simple, when the day is uneventful, when you are not at your most impressive. That is not accidental. That is emotional bonding. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't look good on social media. It doesn't feel dramatic, but it is the clearest signal that someone has moved beyond infatuation and into attachment. Think about this carefully. Lust needs novelty to survive. Love needs familiarity. When she checks in without a reason, that matters. When she remembers small details you forgot you shared, that matters. When she is emotionally present, even when you are tired, distracted, or quiet, that matters. Those behaviors do not come from excitement, they come from care. A younger woman who truly loves you does not need constant emotional stimulation to stay connected. She doesn't manufacture drama to feel alive in the relationship. She doesn't disappear and reappear to keep your attention. She doesn't rely on chaos to create closeness. Why? Because emotional safety feels better than emotional intensity. Here's where men often sabotage this without realizing it. When consistency appears, they assume something is missing. They misinterpret peace as boredom, so they pull away slightly. They become unpredictable. They delay responses. They test her interest. They try to recreate the emotional spike that existed in the beginning, and in doing so, they destabilize the very bond that was forming. A woman in love does not want to be managed through emotional tactics. She wants to be met with reliability. Reliability tells her that the connection is real, not conditional. This is especially important for younger women because they grow up in a world where attention is unstable, where people show interest quickly and disappear just as fast, where emotional availability is often performative. So when she chooses to be consistent with you, she is choosing depth over stimulation. That choice costs her something. Consistency means vulnerability. It means showing up without guarantees. It means staying emotionally present, even when she could easily withdraw. So if she is doing that, understand what it signals. She is no longer testing whether you are attractive. She is evaluating whether you are safe to stay attached to. A woman who loves you does not keep score of who messaged last or who cared more. She doesn't weaponize distance. She doesn't disappear to regain control. She wants stability because stability allows her to relax. And relaxed attachment is not passive, it is intentional. You will notice this in how she communicates. She doesn't escalate minor misunderstandings. She doesn't create tension to feel desired. She addresses issues calmly, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares enough to protect the connection. This is a critical distinction. Drama is often mistaken for passion, but drama is usually a sign of emotional insecurity. Love does not need volatility to prove itself. Consistency also shows up in her emotional tone. She doesn't fluctuate wildly between closeness and distance. She doesn't oscillate between warmth and coldness. Her behavior aligns with her words, and alignment is rare. If a woman only wants you when you are unavailable, she wants validation. If she stays present when you are available, she wants connection. This is where philosophical maturity comes in. Love is not about chasing feelings, it's about choosing behavior. Feelings change daily. Behavior reveals values. A younger woman who loves you chooses you repeatedly in small, quiet ways, and those choices accumulate into trust. But consistency only survives when it is reciprocated. If she shows up steadily and you respond unpredictably, she will slowly withdraw. Not to punish you, but to protect herself, because no one can remain emotionally invested in instability forever. And here's an uncomfortable truth. Many men say they want loyalty, but they are addicted to unpredictability. They confuse being desired with being needed. So when consistency appears, it threatens their sense of importance. But love is not about being needed, it's about being chosen. A woman who loves you chooses you even when she doesn't have to chase you. That is powerful. You'll also notice that consistency changes how she handles temptation. She doesn't flirt excessively with others to provoke jealousy. She doesn't seek external validation to compensate for insecurity. Her energy becomes focused, not scattered. Why? Because emotional attachment narrows attention. When someone loves you, they don't need multiple emotional options. They invest where they feel safe. Consistency is also future-oriented. She doesn't demand guarantees, but she behaves as if the connection matters tomorrow, not just today. She is mindful of her words. She considers consequences. She thinks long-term without forcing outcomes. That's love maturing. If you want to know whether a younger woman truly loves you, don't ask how intense the connection feels. Ask how steady it is. Ask whether she shows up without needing chaos. Ask whether she stays when there is nothing to prove. And then ask yourself something equally important. Are you capable of receiving consistency without sabotaging it? Because the man who understands love does not chase excitement. He cultivates trust. He recognizes that peace is not the absence of passion, but the foundation of it. And here is the reflection to leave you with. If she shows up consistently when life is ordinary, don't overlook it. Ordinary presence is not a lack of love. It is love that has decided to stay. When a younger woman truly loves you, something very specific happens that most men completely underestimate. She stops trying to win, manipulate, or test the connection, and instead she starts protecting it. Not you as an individual, not your ego, not your status, but the bond itself, the space between you, the emotional field you share. And this is where love quietly reveals its depth. Protection does not look dramatic. It does not announce itself. It doesn't come with ultimatums or possessiveness. In fact, it often looks like restraint, thoughtfulness, emotional intelligence in moments where chaos would be easier. A woman who doesn't love you has nothing to lose. She can escalate conflict, disappear, create jealousy, or walk away without reflection. A woman who loves you behaves differently because now there is something at stake. She understands consciously or unconsciously that reckless emotion can damage something she values. So she becomes careful. She starts choosing her words more intentionally, not because she is afraid of you, but because she respects the connection. She pauses before reacting. She thinks before responding. She considers the long-term impact of short-term emotion. That pause is not weakness. That pause is emotional maturity. This is one of the clearest signs of real love. A younger woman who truly loves you does not enjoy emotional chaos. She does not feel empowered by destabilizing the bond. She doesn't want to see how much she can provoke you before you pull away. Instead, she wants to know that the connection can survive discomfort without turning destructive. This is why she cares about repair. When tension arises, she doesn't rush to blame. She doesn't threaten distance as leverage. She doesn't use silence as punishment. She wants to talk, but not to win. She wants to resolve, not dominate. Because unresolved conflict feels dangerous to someone who is emotionally invested. Understand this clearly. A woman who loves you is not trying to avoid conflict. She is trying to prevent erosion. Erosion happens slowly, through careless words, through unnecessary cruelty, through ego battles that feel justified in the moment but leave damage behind. And she senses this instinctively. So she steps in emotionally to protect what's being built. You'll notice this in how she reacts to misunderstandings. She clarifies instead of assuming. She asks instead of accusing. She gives you the benefit of the doubt more often than not. Not because she's naive, but because she wants the connection to feel safe. And safety is not passive. It is actively maintained. Another critical point most men miss is this. When a woman loves you, she does not try to make you jealous. She does not seek attention from other men to regulate her emotions. She does not use competition as a tool to feel powerful. Why? Because jealousy introduces instability, and instability threatens attachment. If she is protecting the bond, she will not contaminate it with unnecessary insecurity. This is not about loyalty as a moral concept. This is about nervous system regulation. A woman in love wants emotional coherence. She wants to know that the relationship is a place of clarity, not confusion. So she avoids behaviors that create doubt, even if those behaviors might temporarily inflate her ego. That restraint tells you everything. She also becomes protective of your peace, not in a controlling way, but in a considerate one. She notices when something stresses you. She becomes mindful of timing. She doesn't dump emotional weight onto you recklessly. She doesn't demand attention in moments where she knows you're already overwhelmed. This doesn't mean she suppresses her needs. It means she understands pacing. Love is not urgency. Love is rhythm. A younger woman who truly loves you understands that relationships are ecosystems. Too much pressure collapses them. Too little care starves them. So she adjusts herself to maintain balance. And here's something important. This protective instinct only appears when she believes the connection has real potential. If she thought you were temporary, she wouldn't bother. If she saw you as replaceable, she wouldn't regulate herself. Protection requires belief. Belief that this matters. Belief that this is worth preserving. Belief that damage is possible and therefore prevention is necessary. This is why she becomes more conscious during disagreements. She doesn't aim for emotional victory. She aims for emotional continuity. She wants the relationship to exist tomorrow in a healthy form, not just for her to feel justified today. And here's where many men unknowingly fail the test. They interpret this protection as compliance, as softness, as weakness. So they push harder. They become careless. They assume the bond is indestructible. Nothing destroys love faster than taking it for granted. If she is protecting the connection and you are careless with it, she will eventually stop protecting. Not out of punishment, but out of self-respect, because protection without reciprocity becomes self-abandonment. This is the deeper philosophical truth. Love is not just an emotion, it is a responsibility, and a woman who loves you is already carrying her side of that responsibility through emotional restraint, thoughtfulness, and repair-oriented behavior. The question is whether you are meeting her there. A man who understands this does not exploit her care. He honors it. He becomes more precise with his words, not less. He becomes more grounded, not more reactive. He recognizes that emotional safety is not maintained by dominance, but by consistency and integrity. And when both people protect the bond, something rare happens. The relationship becomes resilient. It can handle stress. It can handle disagreement. It can handle time. Because love is not proven by intensity. It is proven by what survives. So if a younger woman is protecting the connection with you, if she is choosing peace over ego, repair over pride, stability over drama, do not overlook it. That is not something she learned from romance. That is something she arrived at through emotional investment. And here is the final reflection to leave you with. Anyone can create sparks. Very few can protect the fire. If she is protecting the bond, ask yourself whether you are worthy of what she is trying to preserve.